Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our NAIOP Southern Nevada March Breakfast program. I hope you all got your March Madness brackets filled out because we're going to be working straight through 9 o'clock at tip-off. I also want to give a big shout out to our UNLV hockey team, which won the national championship on Tuesday. I'm Matthew Hoyt, and I have the privilege of serving as your chapter president this year. Good morning to everyone here in attendance and everyone joining us by Zoom. For all of you that are here in the room today, please write down any questions at the notepads on your table. Dan Tuntlin and the Programs Committee will collect them for a Q&A session from 9 o'clock to 9:15. Today we have some very special guests in our audience. I'd like to recognize our elected officials in attendance today. Please stand and be recognized. City of Henderson Councilwoman Larkin. City of North Las Vegas Councilman Barone. And Clark County Commissioner Naft. We also want to recognize our students in attendance today. If you're a student, please stand and welcome to NAIOP. All of you, if you see a student, they've got a green ribbon on their name tag. Please welcome them to NAIOP. They're the future of our industry. We'd also like to note that the Lead Center for Real Estate at UNLV is excited to host their annual Real Estate Career Expo on April 11th. They'd like to maximize opportunities for both students and NAIOP members. If you're interested in participating in the Career Expo this year, please reach out to Paul Chaffee. We'd also like to take a moment to honor our President's Circle sponsors. They're a critical component to the success of our NAIOP chapter. This year we have 5 platinum sponsors. City of North Las Vegas, a new platinum sponsor this year. Cox Business, who has supported our chapter for 21 years. Gatsky Commercial since 2022. Martin Harris Construction since 2001. And Schnitzer Properties since 2000. We also want to thank our 8 gold sponsors: Burke Construction Group, EBS Realty Partners, Heller Companies, LLC, Howard Hughes, Kimley Horn and Associates, Majestic Realty Company, Prologis, and the Southern Nevada Water Authority. Thank you to our gold sponsors. I'd also like to thank our remaining President's Circle sponsors. Please look on the screen as we recognize our silver sponsors, our bronze sponsors, and our copper level sponsors. I'm happy to report that support from our President's Circle sponsors has reached an all-time high in 2025. With exposure to over 700 members, there's never been a better time to be a President's Circle sponsor. There's nearly 225 of us in the room today. If you're interested in becoming a 2025 President's Circle sponsor, please stop at the registration table for a package or talk to myself, Lisa Brady, at Prologis, Katrina, or Jonna. Lisa. And now to our committees. Let's take a quick moment to hear our committee updates. For those giving announcements, if you can please make your way to the microphone. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to our Spotlight Awards Committee for all of their hard work. They just put on an amazing program on March 1st. Anyone that was there to join us, I'm sure you had a blast as well as myself. Thank you so much to our Spotlight Awards Committee for doing an outstanding job this year. And we can get started with committee announcements.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, can you hear me? Good morning, my name's Emily Brunn. I am a broker with Cushman & Wakefield and also part of the DLI class of 2025. I heard it's the best class yet. So I am here on behalf of the Community Service Committee. Today is the final day of our paper goods collection to support the senior citizens in our community. So if you're wondering why there's toilet paper over there, that is why. We will be delivering this to Helping Hands next week. So there is still time if you want to give and participate. You can reach out to one of our Community Service Committee members. Can I have the committee members raise their hands so that we know who you are? You can reach out to any one of them and get the address of the 3 drop-off locations around town. And then next Thursday, the 27th, we will be having a hands-on volunteer event. We will be helping sort and pack these donations in the warehouse. The opportunity is available to all NAIOP members. So if you'd like to join us, as we all know, many hands make the workload light. So we'd love to have you. And you can stop by our table and sign up on your way out. Thank you for your support. That's all I got.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here representing Guy about the golf committee. He wasn't able to attend today. So this is our 33rd annual golf tournament, Friday, May 16th at Paiute Golf Course. It is sold out. Currently, we're collecting minimum $100 gift cards for the raffle prizes. We also have Amazon as a wish list location that you can select items. We need volunteers for that day, members only. So you can reach out to me, Guy, or Jonna, and look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
I swear they do this on purpose. Not everybody is 6'3". My name is Art Green. I'm with Geotechnical Environmental Services, and I was reading the news this morning while I get my first cup of coffee, and there's actually good news. I mean, astronauts came home yesterday, some puppies got adopted this morning, and NAIOP is selling $500 sponsorships for their spring event at the Aviators. That's on May 1st. It's just $500. That's really cheap. All of you can afford that. Every single one of you. The bad news is, though, there was some bad news in the news, is there's only a handful of these sponsorships left. The event is on May 1st, so if you want to get all the value you can out of your sponsorship, you need to see me at the end of this breakfast. My name is Art Green. I'm with the membership committee, and you need to come see me after this breakfast so you can take advantage of the $500 incredibly cheap, very value-oriented sponsorship for our NAIOP Aviators event on May 1st. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Each month we like to recognize our new members. If you are a new member, please stand and welcome to NAIOP. Everyone, if you see a red ribbon on the name tags, please be sure to welcome our new members today. I'm happy to report that after the annual membership non-renewal drops, our chapter had the 4th best retention out of all the NAIOP chapters nationally. We're now ranked as the 7th largest chapter, currently at 708 members strong. A quick thank you to our membership committee for continuing to tout the value of NAIOP membership and push on those renewals. Thank you. If your membership was dropped, this is your invitation to rejoin us. And if you've never been a member, now's the time. There are a few ways. You can stop at the registration table for an application. You can visit our website and join us online. You can call the NAIOP office, or you can reach out to anyone with the membership committee ribbon on their name tag today. We'd like to thank our 2025 breakfast meeting sponsors, American Nevada Realty, Carpenter Sellers Delgado Architects, City of North Las Vegas, Cox Business, Martin Harris Construction, NV Energy, Panettone Development, Schnitzer Properties, the Southern Nevada Water Authority, the Whiting Turner Contracting Company, and our Wi-Fi sponsor, Gatsky Commercial. And a special thank you to this morning's meeting sponsor, Schnitzer Properties, who is also a platinum sponsor this year. I'd like to introduce Jalen Hawkins, Portfolio Manager at Schnitzer Properties. Jalen is a DLI graduate and Vice Chair of our Programs Committee. Welcome to the stage, Jalen.
So good morning, everyone. As Matt mentioned, my name's Jalen Hawkins, and I'm one of the portfolio managers for Schnitzer Properties here in Las Vegas. We're fortunate to be known by most in this room, but for those of you who don't know who we are, Schnitzer Properties is a family-owned real estate investment and development company that is one of the top 10 private real estate owners in the West. We were established in 1950 in Portland, Oregon, and our owner, Jordan Schnitzer, has grown Schnitzer Properties to own and operate more than 33 million square feet of property, primarily focused on industrial spaces for small and mid-sized manufacturers, distributors, and family service providers. The company manages regional offices in Seattle, Portland, the San Francisco Bay Area, Sacramento, San Diego, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Tucson. This breaks down to over 200 plus properties, about 4,500 tenants, and a team of over 300 real estate professionals. In Las Vegas, we have a team of about 55 real estate professionals, and in the Las Vegas region, we own and operate about 11 million square feet, primarily made up of multi-tenant industrial. We're also excited that we continue to grow in Vegas, as we have 3 industrial projects under construction, 2 of them in the Southwest and 1 of them up by the Speedway. With a portfolio of this size, it's organizations like NAIOP that help us keep our feet on the ground. NAIOP consistently provides access to a robust network of industry professionals, to market insights, and to advocacy efforts to help shape local real estate policies. It's easy to see where our team is a platinum sponsor here. We have 11 members locally within the organization, and a handful of us are directly involved. Reed Gottesman being a past president, Amanda McCauley being on the NAIOP board of directors, Mike Goodwin being a member of the current DLI class and a chair of the education committee, and myself being a DLI grad and a vice chair of the programs committee. So with that said, thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak today. As we look ahead, let's continue to collaborate, innovate, and drive the growth of Southern Nevada's commercial real estate market together. Thank you.
Thanks again to Schnitzer Properties for sponsoring today's program. As you guys know, our programs committee has been putting out the best programs in the business. So let's segue into today's panel. One last reminder that we have a Q&A session at the end of the program from 9 o'clock to 9:15. There are pens and paper at your tables, which will be collected. Please take some notes and write down some questions, and we'll get those answered for you at the end of the program. I'm excited for our program today, Fast Lane to the Future, Transportation, Infrastructure, and Growth. And I have the pleasure of introducing you to today's moderator, James Bristow. James is an expert in civil engineering, materials, and construction processes, bringing over 20 years of industry experience to his roles with UES and Midnight Sun Consulting. A four-time UNLV graduate, he holds a PhD, master's, and bachelor's in civil engineering, along with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. His expertise in construction, methodologies, materials, testing, and engineering business operations has made him a trusted industry leader. As the former owner of Las Vegas-based Nova Geotechnical and Inspection Services, James played a key role in the creation of the UES national platform. In early 2024, James retired from UES. You're way too young for retirement. We're the same age. James retired from UES to focus on consulting, community investments, and leadership development. Beyond his daily professional work, James serves on the board of directors for the Las Vegas chapter of the American Concrete Institute and Business First Nevada PAC. He is also actively involved in community organizations, including Green Our Planet, Los Vaqueros, St. Jude's Ranch for Children, and UNLV's College of Engineering and Lee School of Business advisory boards. He is also on our board of directors for NAIOP and our education committee board liaison. He's a lifelong learner. He is genuinely the most interesting man in the room. We welcome to the stage my good friend, James Bristow.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Thank you. All right. Thanks for having me, Matt. Appreciate it. It's a great opportunity to be here with you all this morning to talk about something I really enjoy, transportation. 21 years in college straight at UNLV, enrolled entirely for 21 years straight, and I learned a lot about peer pressure. So when Matt Hoyt calls up and says, hey, you should join the board at NAIOP, I knew that peer pressure was following that. He was going to stay on me until I joined, so here I am. And when Sabrina Borgov asked you to be a moderator on a presentation panel, you're going to take the peer pressure and do it. So here I am, and I'm excited to be with you all. I think our speakers are going to be really exciting and so I'm thrilled to introduce them. Asha Jones is the Vice President of Corporate Affairs at Brightline West, leading strategic alliances, community outreach, and business partnerships along the Las Vegas to Southern California corridor. With extensive experience in government relations and economic development, she has served as Chief of Staff to Nevada Congressman Stephen Horsford and advised leaders like former U.S. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. A passionate advocate for small businesses and minority entrepreneurs, Asha is also a dedicated community leader recognized by organizations such as the Las Vegas Urban League and the Urban Chamber of Commerce. Asha, come on up. Thank you for being here. Our second speaker, Mr. David Swallow, serves as Deputy CEO for the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada, where he oversees transportation planning, engineering, and roadway funding, design and construction of public transit systems and facilities, operation of the public bike share system, and traffic management for the region's arterial and freeway systems. He is a licensed professional engineer and earned both his bachelor's and master's of science degrees in civil engineering from University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Go Rebels. And last but definitely not least, Ms. Tracy Larkin Thomason was appointed in January as the Director of the Nevada Department of Transportation by the Transportation Board of Directors. Retiring in 2021 as Deputy Director, Director Larkin Thomason brings over 30 years of extensive knowledge of the Department of Transportation's operations through administration, management, and technical roles throughout the agency. For the past 2 years, Tracy has been working for the Intelligent Transportation Society of America, or ITSA, developing a national nonprofit organization program department, and initiating a growing statewide smart and connected infrastructure application. Tracy received her MBA and her BS in civil engineering from some school, University of Nevada, Reno. I've never heard of it. She is a certified public manager and a professional traffic operations engineer and holds a license as a registered professional engineer in Nevada. Come on up, Tracy. Thanks for being here. It even hurt to say it. Whew. Cool. To get us started, I was hoping we could just kind of go down the row here with kind of a little bit of conversation around, all the transportation-minded projects that we have, but also the need that we have in Southern Nevada. We are a growing city with lots of excitement, sports teams and race tracks and all kinds of really cool stuff going on. And we have darn near 42 million visitors on top of our residents that live here. And so we've got projects like Maryland Parkway Bus Rapid Transit, Brightline West, I-15 Tropicana. Each of those I'm sure one of you will speak to. But what else is out there and what all are you working on? So Dave, maybe we can start with you. You can kind of use your slides and chat through a foundational part of our conversation.
Sure. Does everybody hear me okay? All right, great. I do have a couple slides that I just wanted to highlight for you. How many heard of the RTC before you saw the flyer? Okay. Our marketing team's doing a great job, Mackenzie. So most folks think of us about being the transit agency, but we really started as a funding agency for street and highway programs. In fact, we were established by state legislation in 1965. After that, and it was to administer a 1 cent per gallon gas tax. I can honestly say it's a lot higher now. Those were the days. But it was established to administer this 1 cent per gallon gas tax to make sure that we had a sustainable funding source for roadways as our state continued to grow. Fast forward, it was nearly 30 years later that the RTC took on the role of being a public transit provider. Oops, sorry. Trying to advance that slide. Help me out there. Okay, go back. Let me see. So we started as a funding agency for streets and highways. We became the planning agency for Southern Nevada, coordinating amongst all the local jurisdictions as well as through the state DOT. And then really that is important because if we're going to go get federal money, we can't do it unless we have a transportation plan to go forward. So going forward, Then we became the transit agency in December 1992. So we're just over 30 years old as a public transit provider. And then in 2004, we took on the role of becoming the region's traffic manager on behalf of all the cities, the county, and even operating the freeway system on behalf of the state DOT. So the RTC has continued to evolve as we've gone forward into the future.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Asha.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Me and this earpiece are having lots of fun. So just glad to be here, glad to say we are building a train. It's something I've heard about my lifetime. I've been in Vegas since I was 3 years old. So I kept hearing, we're getting a train, we're getting a train. And when Brightline got on the scene and I had the opportunity to come over, I was like, okay, this is really happening. And it is. And I look at Brightline, I get to travel along the alignment a lot, and I get to see what it means to us in Vegas, which is we want to bring more tourists in. We want people to come in and watch our sports teams that he referenced. We want to see that. But I also get to see what it means to the Inland Empire. And I'm one of those, my mother lives in Orange County, so I travel to Orange County a lot. But, the Inland Empire is not a place I had visited too much. And I can tell you now, I've been in the best Marriotts in Hesperia and Apple Valley and Victorville, and spend some time there, but I really got to know the people and understand what this train means to them. When you talk about people moving from the Inland Empire and going into Rancho Cucamonga, which is where our train goes. So it's 218 miles. Our station will be right across from the South Premium Outlets on Las Vegas Boulevard and between Windmill and Warm Springs. And we go into Hesperia, we go into Victor Valley. We call it Victor Valley, it's Apple Valley and Victorville. And then we end in Rancho Cucamonga. When we end in Rancho, we end at the Metrolink station. Metrolink will take you into LA and all the other places they travel. So you really can't go from Las Vegas directly into downtown LA, which is something, through the many iterations of this train. At one point it was going to stop in Victorville. I still have to tell people that. I'm like, no, you can get all the way through. But seeing what it means, and we'll talk later about the development, but I see Brightline, we are a model, which we've heard from other people, of what high-speed rail can look like in the U.S. And if you've traveled outside of the U.S. and you've been on trains in Europe and Asia, you know that high-speed rail can ease transportation and ease life. And that's what we're looking to do, and it's here. It's definitely here, and we'll talk about some other things coming up, but like many of you in the room, I've heard about it, but it is finally here, and we're glad to bring it to you.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. How about you, Tracy?
All right. Can you hear me? So Nevada Department of Transportation, we started as the Highway Department in 1917. Couple roads, couple bridges, kind of standard, but it's grown to be so much more. So just a little background on it is, yes, we do the standard. We're doing roads, bridges, hydrology features, so on. But we also do a lot of services. We do have, of course, plowing snow, striping, sweeping, for air quality, environmental mitigation. We monitor different species. We do wildlife crossings. We work with our other agencies. We look at as a foundational part for economic development, which I'm sure most of you will be interested in on the growth in different areas. I've been with the department for many years, actually decades now, so over 35 years, and watching the morphing of Nevada just in general, where it's growing, how it reinvents itself on a regular basis, and particularly in Las Vegas. I used to love to come down for work, and I'd be working on things like the Ann interchange, back when that was the edge of town. And you'd go in, but you'd always had a new casino was up every single time. And I'd run in and get the matchbook at that time, and so run back out. I had quite a collection for a while, but now they don't do them. But moving on from that is just how much more services you provide working with it. We do mitigation, trash pickup, homeless abatement. We have to deal with a lot of theft going on. We're partners with RTC working at the FAST. Through there, we do traffic operations centers throughout the state. But now, centering back down here in Vegas, it is really looking at the growth and really trying to manage how we can plan out the transportation connections, as you guys are ready to explode again. I mean, it kind of, you watch the cycles, but you're back in major growth. And Nevada is still we're like number 5 in the nation for growth, but we're in the very top part. People still want to come in. You've watched the sports arenas growing on there. So what we're looking around town, and we'll talk a little bit more about specific projects, but you look at the north going up for Kyle Canyon. We're looking at the I-11 going to the north. We're looking at the I-15 on the north side going up by Apex on there. We've got growth going out in Pahrump, going along the 160. Obviously, we're finally finishing the Tropicana Bridge. That will be one project I'll be happy to just pat it and say goodbye. And then we're also looking, of course, and we'll talk a lot more about this, the I-15 south from Sloan down to State Line, working in conjunction with Brightline and how we fit it all in and how we're looking at the growth that Clark County and the city of Henderson and others are planning and already seeing and developing for the area, how we can actually manage the growth and ensure that the transportation system we have of the future is a functioning one, and the one that will function for a long time. I-15, US 95, I-11, these are our lifelines, and we can't afford to do it wrong. So I'll turn it back over.
Fantastic. So I can't help but think about a story that my good friend Commissioner Neff shared one time about sitting in traffic, getting yelled at by a constituent for all of the traffic that they were sitting in while he was sitting in traffic trying to get to work. I see him over there clapping when you mentioned the Tropicana completion. This is a room full of friendlies. We understand how much transportation drives our economic development, and we're really excited about kind of the next phases of the community development in that regard. Can you share a little bit, Tracy, starting with you and maybe working back this way, what does the funding look like? I mean, how are things shaping up for the future projects that will continue to drive our economies forward?
Well, I'm actually going to borrow a saying from David, where his supervisor said, "Funding is our favorite F word." So it is a struggle at this time. We're not going to lie about it. It's we're looking at the highway. The state fuel tax and the federal fuel tax was established in 1993. That's the last time it was used. So we're building a 2025 transportation system on a 1993 budget. That is basically the state and the federal part has typically been equal. We now have a federal program that is 61% of our program. And with a recent change in administration, it really kind of highlights the fragility of it because it's been a lot of uncertainty. It's calming down, things are moving forward, but bottom line, in the last 2 years, actually I'll say 3 years since 2021, we have seen 68% in construction inflation. And that is a national average from the construction cost index across the country. We tracked a lot of what we were doing with our own projects, and it basically was looking between 58 and 60%. So that's the rise in the cost, which just means there's less projects going out. So when we look at our state dollars, I look at making sure our employees are paid. I look to make sure that the lights are on. We're doing our sanding. We're doing our plowing. We're doing the safety things that we need to do out. And then we match the federal dollars, and then we look at the state projects. And I will tell you, we've canceled almost all state projects this year. We still are on track for a number of the big ones as we're talking about the grants. We do have a number of grants throughout the state, and we don't want to miss out on taking advantage of those federal dollars. But it's, we always survive. I've been through a number of recessions. We're resilient, we will, and Nevada is a resilient state. But we're going to go through one of those cycles right now.
Understood. Asha, you guys had a big article in the newspaper recently?
We did. We just most recently closed our private activity bond process for $2.5 billion in private activity bonds, which I'm learning lots of new things in this role. But Our project, and we talked about the legislature and going to the state. We do not have any asks to the state right now. We do have a presence at the state legislature. I want to make sure that they understand high-speed rail and they understand our project. I laugh because Nevada, we are a big, or Las Vegas is a big little city. So when there was an event at the legislature 2 weeks ago, and I started getting phone calls about 9 o'clock at night because some legislator said, oh, the project's not happening. And my phone is blowing up. And I was like, I'll be there next week. We'll talk all about it. Everything is fine. But our project is unique. It's a public-private partnership. So you know that we received the $3.5 billion from the federal government, and that is through NDOT. So this is a partnership with the state in that way. But that federal money became the base for how we do the rest of our funding. And so the next phase was the private activity bonds, which they exceeded expectations. They've done very well. And in terms of the changing of the administration, I will say our project started under the first Trump administration. And so we got all of our federal compliance and permits and things during that administration. Then the Biden administration came in and allowed us to get the $3.5 billion and the grant. And now under the current administration, we've done a good job of connecting with Secretary Duffy. And he spoke very highly of our project publicly, which we were excited to hear. I was actually in DC when he was in California making comments. And they recognize that this type of project is the beginning. I think people are supportive because they want to see where all it goes. And so we have our project in Florida, which is on a freight line, but it still connects cities. And now Brightline West. And then discussions are happening all across the country about what's next when it comes to inner city mobility. So we are in a good place right now. We are just going to keep plugging along. Every day, I'm like, okay, another win, another win. But we know times are difficult. And so it's not to gloat or anything, but it's to say that there's a lot of people supporting, and especially bipartisan support, which is something we needed.
Absolutely. That's great to hear. David, how about you guys?
I want to pick up on that F-word theme. Funding is a critical thing, and thankfully, as a community, we've made important decisions in the past. One was the fuel revenue indexing program. If you recall, we had a nasty little recession back there, 2008 to 2012, give or take. And during that time, the local and statewide industry kind of came together and worked with the legislature to pass a measure to index the fuel tax against inflation. I think that makes perfect sense. Every year we have a little bit of inflation. We want to retain that purchasing power. And so that was enabled back in 2013 and enacted in 2014. And since 2014, that has generated, I think we've obligated nearly $3 billion in roadway projects. Think about how important that has been to just ensure that we could continue to grow as a community, both to expand outward, but to better connect our community together with a solid roadway network. I mean, we have nearly, here in the urbanized area, I think we have about 8,000 miles of roadways. About 2,000 miles of that is our arterial and collector network, and then freeways. With that, though, when FRI was enacted, it was on a 3-year pilot. We delivered well on that first 3 years. We went to a ballot measure. We got a favorable outcome from that. You and the rest of the community voted in favor of it, and that has allowed us to sustain that growth. That being said, it was for a 10-year program, so that's coming up. It's going to end at the end of next year unless we go back out to a ballot measure, or if there's some sort of legislative action that could enable it to go forward. Why that's critically important is not only to have the funding to do the projects that we need to do, and I think we all agree that we need to sustain our roadways. It'll be a little frustrating with all the orange cones out there, right? And I think that it's important to recognize the cones aren't just, while there may be construction in a roadway, it's not necessarily roadway construction. I'm sure you're all familiar with that, whether it's the Southern Nevada Water Authority, Water District, Southwest Gas, NV Energy, development, doing off-site improvements. There's a lot of things that are happening in our roadways, and that can be a little challenging. At the same time, we do, I think, a noteworthy job coordinating with all the local jurisdictions to make sure we understand what's coming, to not have two parallel roadways tied up at the same time. So with that, I think the critically important part with that funding source is to ensure we can leverage the federal money that is owed to us. And I say owed to us because, as Tracy mentioned, 18.4 cents of every gallon of gas you buy goes to Washington, D.C., and it's our job to go get that money back here to Southern Nevada. That's what our role is, and I think we do a pretty noteworthy job with that. A good example, you might have seen the screens kind of showing the Maryland Parkway project. That's a perfect example where we had $125 million through our fuel revenue indexing program set aside by the county and the city to just kind of refurbish Maryland Parkway. You know, it's been around for a long time. It needed a refresh. And we said, hey, why don't we leverage that and apply for a discretionary grant, a competitive grant? And we were successful in that, bringing another $150 million of our federal money back to Southern Nevada. And there's many instances of that. In fact, the first project that we did with FRI was the Interstate 11 that we started. And had we not had that funding come to us, we wouldn't have the Interstate 11 at where it is today, along with hundreds, literally hundreds of other projects that we've been able to get done in the last 10 years.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Tracy, for NAIOP, the Ivanpah Airport is a concept that we see as a must-win kind of situation. The development associated with a new airport in that area, and its alignment or proximity to the I-15 alignment is obviously critical to the value of it. Can you share a little bit about the I-15 study and plans for that area so that the developers in the room can kind of continue to think about their investments in the area?
Yes, I did figure this would come up as a topic. One of the studies has been going on for about the past year, and it's still continuing and should wrap up at the end of this year, is really looking very closely between Sloan and State Line, looking at the development, looking at the future impacts, looking at the plans of each of the cities that have been going on. So when we start there, we have the growth at Gene. We'll get there, but we have the growth that, Terrible's has purchased more property. There's more development going on there. There's that what we need at Gene. Looking at the other side, we're just finishing up coming down the widening on the I-15 North. Fisher is doing that construction right now. Then we're looking at the Sloan the next one will be Via Nobila interchange. We're in the design part of that. The design for that should be done at the end of next year, and then we're looking at construction in 2027. Yes, we are working, looking very closely at, I knew it as Ivanpah. I know it's a supplemental airport. It's got another name. We're looking at not only that and the 40,000 acres that they have with it, with related development on the south side, looking at what improvements are made, and it's not necessarily, this is looking at jointly. Not only do we want to look at what kind of access we'd be looking at the I-15, but we really are trying to work with our partners to ensure that there's a robust connecting network off the I-15. The I-15 cannot just be the only method of in and out to the area. And then we look at that with Clark County. There's a Clark County joint use project study that's going on, and that's like another. I'm trying to remember the amount of acreage on that. I did write myself a little part on that, but we're looking at that is the land use that they're planning that's also on the west side of the I-15. So really on the north side, looking at that. We're working with Brightline, looking at the alignment of where they're coming in. They come in the median, then they're going off, and they'll be kind of on the east and the south side coming up. So any type of interchanges, we're looking at that. We're looking at, making sure that it's ahead of time. We're thinking about it. So like Via Nobila will be going over both the I-15 and the Brightline track. We talked again back to the airport. There are 3 other potential interchanges in connection with the growth of the airport going down. That south, there is Inspirada interchange, which would be, so you'd be looking at the Via Nobila, then Inspirada, 3 other interchanges. So basically there'll be other 6 interchanges planned along that corridor. So again, we're looking very carefully at the spacing. We're looking very carefully at where Brightline is crossing over, because when it comes over the median, when it comes out of the median going to the south side or east side. It needs to cross over the I-15, so we want to make sure that there's no conflict. So it is a very intensive study, and it's really reaching out and trying to get as many details as possible at how we manage that. I mean, as we all know, I-15 is our lifeline. In and out, there's not a lot of redundancy in the system, so we want to make sure that we build some redundancy and work overall in the planning on that. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but it is a must-win
Exciting.
corridor, and we've got to do it right. So thank you for that. Mr. Swallow, tell us about the bus rapid transit and, your excitement around that
Sure.
project.
Yeah, so bus rapid transit, it's using buses to try to emulate light rail service. We've had, I want to brag a little bit here. One of the things that most folks don't know, RTC is only a bus agency. We don't have anything else. And when we compare ourselves to the 50 largest bus-only agencies in the United States, we're consistently rated the #1 most cost-efficient agency in terms of we have the lowest cost per trip, we get the highest revenue per passenger compared to the cost of the trip, and that's great. But we also are known for having one of the lowest per capita spends on public transit. So that means with what little we get, we do a really good job, okay? And I hate to use that as a kind of snarky little bragging point, but it is. And so to that end, we've only been able to, so far, go forward with buses. The monorail was, it's great that it's in place, operated by the LVCVA. That was a privately funded venture. Boring Company, it's great to see that they're building out a network, creating a new, I want to call it next level as far as rideshare kind of experience. But when it comes to high capacity transit, we just don't have the resources to build out something like you would see in a lot of other world-class cities. And so I would like to see funding for that, but for right now, we're going to do with what we can. First is the Maryland Parkway. Maryland Parkway, a lot of people ask me, why Maryland Parkway? And I'm sure there's some affinity to it. If you went to the university or if you grew up in the middle of town, used to go hang out at the Boulevard Mall, whatever it is, I think it engenders kind of a positive reaction. What most people don't know, it is our most efficient transit route in the system, even beating out the Strip. Not in the total volume, but when you look at the number of boardings per mile, Maryland Parkway is kicking it. It's like, I call it our sleeper route, like that old station wagon that has this monster V8 in it, right? And it's kind of the sleeper hot rod. That's what Maryland Parkway is for us. So that's a great one that we're building out, that you might have saw the slides earlier, really kind of transforming what is arguably a very boring roadway infrastructure. When we build roadways to look like roadways, they're meant only for cars. But when we build roadways as public spaces, they're meant more for people. And that's what we're trying to do with Maryland Parkway. And with that public investment, trying to see a private investment come in along the corridor as kind of a return on that. Same thing City of Henderson is doing with Boulder Highway. We also got a federal grant to look at extending what Henderson is doing along Boulder Highway, as well as another grant to build out Charleston Boulevard, another one of our high productivity routes. And so if we can build out a network of high capacity transit, I think it'll better connect the breadth of our community to the main employment center in the resort corridor, as well as to enable the future growth that we want to see.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Asha, my partners at UES in Florida spent a lot of time working with Brightline on the various elements of the project there. And when they had heard we were getting Brightline out here, they called me up and reminded me that there is a significant real estate play in this investment. Now, you guys have that property on Las Vegas Boulevard, and can you tell us a little bit about the transit-oriented development that's occurring there?
Yes, I'm going to attempt to use the slides here. Okay, I think I'm going the wrong way. Bear with me. Maybe. Oh, you're going to get all the slides. You're just going to get all the slides now.
It's going back. You just can't see it. There you go.
Okay.
There we go.
Or maybe not.
Go one more.
Oh, there it was, okay. There we go. All right. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, that is where our station is. The green area there, like I said, Las Vegas Boulevard, Windmill, and Warm Springs. We have 110 acres there. Our station will only take about 20 acres. And so we recognize that anything is possible there. You see the gateway to the Strip. That's what we look at it as. You're coming down Las Vegas Boulevard. We want you to see Brightline and then continue on. The land next to our land at one point was rumored to be for the basketball stadium. Not sure where that's landing yet, but it just means we're in a really, really good place. And so we haven't released a lot of information about how we're going to develop that, but I want to point to what we've done in Florida to give you an idea of what we're looking at doing. Florida, we have, I think, it's 6 different stops along, and this is just Miami. Okay, this is Miami. And so if you look at the area outlined in yellow, the actual whole area, there wasn't a lot there prior to Brightline, but that area in yellow was all desert when we came in. And so our train, you see the 2 towers, and underneath the towers, that is our rail line there, and the multicolored garage and all of that. What we did when we came in, we developed the 2 office towers that you see, 345,000 square feet of what we call Class A office space. Then there were 2 apartment towers, which featured about 816 units, and then 150,000 square feet of retail. And that is kind of the model for what we do. And we recognize that when we do that development, it spurs development. So that development in Miami, we did our part, and then what came in afterward was the Miami World Center, which I cannot identify here, but if you've been to Miami, you'll know it's 2,750 units. So the residential that we brought into that community, not just our units, but once we began developing, other people wanted to develop, and it really changed the city center for Miami. Brickell used to be the city center. When we came in, it's now shifting back to the traditional downtown. And that's what we want to see, not just at our Las Vegas station, but also at our Rancho station. And our other 2 stations are inline stations, so they're a lot smaller. But what they will have is a lot of parking, because we recognize people are going to be driving to our station to then catch the train to go into Rancho. So with parking, there's people, there comes other needs as we develop and move. So those opportunities are going to be coming out. We'll make sure that we're connecting with you and the partners here so that people know what's possible. We took some folks on a tour. Tracy, you went on that one too. You too, when we went to West Palm Beach. And everybody loves the West Palm Beach development of all the ones that we've done. And it's just what I love, what we do is unique, but it also fits the area. So we want to make sure that everything that we do in Las Vegas also represents the area. And the opportunities to develop, we're always looking for partners. This is something we build together. Some things we do on our own. Some we in Florida, some we built and then sold, and then some we just sold. So excited about what's to come. All of this stuff is going to be built at the same time. It's not a matter of building the rail and then building the station. We'll be building everything at the same time so that we can get things going quickly.
Fantastic. How many acres do you have there?
We have 110 acres.
110 acres.
And 20 is the station and parking.
So that's a lot of opportunity for development. Right. That's fantastic. Tracy, you mentioned that Tropicana's wrapping up, and you're excited about that. I think everybody's pretty excited.
So excited.
Share more about that timeline. Share more about the project itself and what you got going on there. And then if we can tie in a little bit to what Asha was just talking about for the station, maybe what's your role in collaborating with that public-private partnership for us?
Okay, so the first part was on Tropicana. It is slated to be done in August. Substantially done in August and finished in September. The part that's between August and September is just some paving that is west of I-15. So it's a little bit more, but the I-15 part will be completed in August. That's not that far away. It really isn't after the last couple of years, but I don't think anyone will be happier than NDOT to see the finale of that project. But it's worked with good projects. So now when we're looking down at the I'm sorry, your second part of your question?
Yeah, how does NDOT view their
Oh.
role with the public-private partnership with Asha's station in particular, that interface?
As
there?
friendly.
As friendly, absolutely.
No, it's been quite a difference. I mean, it's the first time I actually started dealing with projects that had a B instead of an M after it. So billions, so that was a little bit, I remember when we got the grant, I was absolutely exhilarated and a little bit terrified. It's just learning a lot more about the rail, learning the interconnect, the clearances, there's the engineering part of how it fits within the corridor. But it has been a partnership from the beginning. We literally were in DC together. We were talking with the Federal Rail Administration as we worked through the agreements, because this goes, obviously it's also a Nevada project, it's also a California project. So ensuring that the proper agreements were in place, understanding some of the fiscal parts of how it moves forward. We were very happy about the public bonds and what they've come through, the amount that they have cleared in just the last couple of months, and watching the prep work. So as they mentioned, we have worked, NDOT, and actually personally me, have been on this project in some form going back literally since I started working on the project in 2012. So, I'm sorry, 2008, when I was working in planning at that time. And we were looking at the alignment, going through the environmental clearances, and then watching it as it evolved. And there was stops, and what is amazing about this one is, like with Brightline West, when it came in, it's the one that overcame every barrier. There was a number of barriers along the way. Just working within the interstate highway, getting that cleared, getting the environmental clearances, the partnerships in place, where it was going, working on the maintenance station, looking at the rolling stock. And that's a lot more that Asha can talk about, but these are very important considerations as we were partnering with them. So very exciting, and I'll let, it's like I said, and we're still friends, and it's been a lot of years.
Dave, how does the RTC kind of play into the project? And, transportation's intermodal like nobody's business. You got bikes and motorcycles and Uber and all this going on. How do you see your role in interacting with the project?
Yeah, so one of the important initiatives that we have underway is what we call our onboard mobility plan. That's a plan for how we want to evolve our transportation network into the future. In particular, when you talk about Brightline and what's going on really in the resort corridor, that's one of the top priorities, is how do we improve transit service as well as other mobility options to, from, and within the resort corridor itself. And so we've been working with Brightline West to look at where the best interface points might be. Also includes Department of Aviation. I hear they have some really exciting things that they're looking at in the future, and I'm sure that's going to play into it, partly because we have land that's right adjacent to some of the property owned by the Department of Aviation, and maybe we can develop a different interface with what we have as far as public transit and the strip itself. Beyond that, I think we all have to acknowledge that we also still have 2.3 million other residents that live here, and we are focused on how do we connect everybody together, both by putting in the high-capacity transit lines like Maryland Parkway and those such, as well as how do we expand and enhance the baseline transit service to our community. And I know sometimes everybody thinks, well, I drive a car. Who really rides transit? And one of the things that we do is we survey our customers to find out, okay, just, when you get on a bus, in case you didn't know this, we provide free Wi-Fi on all our buses and at our transit centers. And so when someone logs on, we might do a 1, 2, 3 question survey. One of the recent surveys we did was to just ask people, where are you going? And they, we'd say, are you going home, going to work? When we asked them where they're going to work, it was restaurants, grocery stores, medical offices. So think about everywhere you go on a day-to-day basis, there's likely someone who works there that got there by bus. And we need to improve that service for them to make sure transit's more viable as an option. To your other point, though, if you go down into downtown Las Vegas, we started and operate the public bike share system downtown. Proud to say. I love bicycling. I know you do. You're next level. But we do like to ensure that people can get to and from where they need to go without having to get into a car. I mean, think about it. If you're only going to, say you're going from your office to your favorite coffee shop, and it's 3/4 of a mile. Well, it might take you 15 minutes to walk that. But if you hop on a bike, it might take just a few minutes to get there. And instead of getting in your car to then, literally walk out to your car to drive a minute and a half to try to park your car and then walk into a place. So how do we make those other options available, and not only available, but that you feel comfortable and safe using them, whether you're walking, riding a bike, taking the bus, or whatever we bring next?
I think that's it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to just jump in a little bit to say, I was really looking at if you look at the three of us up here, it's really we all play very different roles, and it's a unique partnership, but we all need to work together in order to make this a success. When we work with RTC, he's talking about the transit, the quality of life, the mobility around the resort corridor, and the residential areas around. When you look at on Brightline, you're really looking at that economic development feeder coming in, how it interacts then, as I said, the interfaces between getting from the train to the rest of the city and on there. And then when you look at NDOT's role is, we're the I-15, we're the I-11, we're the US 95, 93, and some of the major roads. We have been, over the years, as we have transferred roadways, we have been moving out, except for the I-15, pretty much moving out of the center on there. But it is absolutely critical that when we do our development, we look at like Neon Phase 2, which will be around the Sahara interchange, and then that portion, kind of the middle part of just south of the last Neon Phase, it is critical that we interface properly with all the roads on the sides on there so that we feed into the transit, make sure that it can run smoothly on the roadway. We make sure that the points need to be where we disperse cars and other vehicles at different intervals so that we don't override the part. And we talked a little bit before about operations. We partner with the RTC at looking at the TSMO, the traffic system, maintenance, basically all those big gantries you see, the speed limit signs, the adjustable speed signs, showing where it's in, the dynamic message signs. And that's working not only within the area as you look around like the 215 and you look around the I-15, that feeds all the way in as we look at incident management. And that's one of the things we're working very strongly about across state borders to ensure when something happens in California, what can we do to quickly clear it so that we continue on feeding in here and bringing it in. So I guess I want to highlight, because many times you come in and it's really awe-inspiring what the RTC has done over the years, what they've built, the kind of foundation they've built and done for the communities and the quality of life. And I'm not dismissing our role as being a big support on the side of, if we do it wrong, we screw it up for them. And it's kind of the same thing with Brightline. So as a partnership, it is critical that we really pay attention to each other. And it's the third partner is we need to pay attention to you, as really looking at where you're developing, what you're looking at, how you develop it, and kind of that connection. You bring a different perspective. Like David, I'm an engineer. A lot of it's A to B. And then you put in a little curve once in a while because you got to miss something. But I need that other perspective of what do you see when you're looking here, when you're looking at how it connects in and the growth around that. So I guess I want to put that spiel in for partnership.
Yeah, that's great.
Partnership is key. I think we recognize, number one, our project wouldn't be as far as it is now without the support of NDOT and the state. So you have right now a local, state, federal, and private partnership in Brightline. And we recognize that the work we do, one of my first conversations when I came on, we're building a station. We want to bring 8.6 million one-way passengers every year. They've got to move once they get to Vegas. If we're not in conversation with the RTC, and it goes so much further when you talk about how they budget for the future, they've got to be prepared that people are going to get to that station and want to move. And so they are going to get on the bus. We've made sure that we have ample parking for rideshare, because when rideshare happens, if you're not ready for it, it can be chaotic. And then also the parking. And all of this is us coming together. And I think the development of the future is going to be more like that. One of the things that I believe the feds liked about our project is that we were public-private. Everybody had something to put in and gain. So we do want to make sure that as we develop, we are listening to developers, and that we know that I tell people all the time, my background is in politics, and people think they can do what they do in New York and Vegas, and I'm like, it won't work. Vegas is very unique. We do things differently, and if you don't hear from the people who are here, you're going to have a harder time being successful. And that's one of the things with our company. We've come in and made sure that we're talking to the right people so that we're doing things the right way. And all of us do work together. I think Tracy and I, she talks to somebody at Brightline every day, but I probably talk to her once or twice a week because we want this to be successful and we want it to ease things. And definitely with the RTC participating in the track committee this year and understanding how we move forward with transportation and approaching the state legislature. It is a team effort, so.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. When you talk about what that Las Vegas Boulevard station looks like, I don't envision there being, acres and acres of parking, with robo-taxis on the way and autonomous vehicles. Hopefully, we can preserve as much of that land for development as possible. And that's one of the things I'm most excited about, I think, about, with transportation in the valley, is that because we are kind of a technologically advanced community and we embrace it, there's a great opportunity to get some of our development land back and maybe not gobble it all up for parking. So it's pretty exciting.
Our parking
Build up, yeah.
is building up. I know Vegas, we're used to big sprawling lots, but we do want to make sure that that land is used efficiently.
Yeah.
And having a big parking lot wouldn't be the best use.
My geotech friends, we don't mind if you go down as
Down
well.
and up,
That's
yeah,
fine
yeah.
too.
Right into the
Little
caliche.
expensive, but go on down too. That's just fine. So that's a good spot for us to maybe turn into some questions from the group here. I think Dan's back there. Hey, Dan.
Thank you very much, panel. Thanks, James. A little known fact with James Bristow, he's an avid hunter, and his main form of transportation is a burro. True story. I'd like to thank the RJ, and Mick Akers is here. He's in the corner reporting on this. Be sure to read him every Monday in the newspaper. It really provides a lot for our industry. Some of these questions are fancy for Brightline, and some are very local, like, what are you doing about potholes on every road we drive?
You want me to take that
Whoever
one?
wants that one.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Thankfully, again, because we have a good, robust funding source in place with fuel revenue indexing, the county, the cities are all working very hard to keep the roads maintained. In fact, somewhere between 60 to 80% of our budget is related to maintenance. Not just building new roads, but really maintaining those roadways. And so beyond just the pavement, I think you have to look at what goes into the roadways in terms of utilities and other things. Sometimes the roadways get a little dilapidated because they're waiting on a storm drain or a major water line or a sewer line, something that is holding it up. I thought Paradise Road for the longest time, until last year, and even then it's a little spotty, it looked like something out of a war zone, right? I mean, it was just so bad. And everybody's asking, but they had to get some other front-end work done instead of paving it and then tearing it up and repaving it again. That being said, I think going forward, all the jurisdictions are conscious of that. I want to do a shout-out for something that we created, which is called seeingorangenv.com. It's part of the Seeing Orange campaign. If you see potholes, road damage, or just random orange cones that are out there and you never see anybody working, you can look it up on the website. We have all the projects that we know of, coordinating with the jurisdictions. We even pull dust permit info. We may not know what private development is in there, but if we see something pull a dust permit, we're like, something's going to be happening in this area soon. So we put all that on the website. If you want to go a little old school and call us, you can call us at 702-928-CONE. I don't know what the last four numbers of that is, but it's 702-928-CONE. You call us, we'll find out answer your question and get you directed to the right people. Hopefully that answers it.
I love that that question was for him.
Tracy, this could be for you, but what are we doing for the I-15, just the widening, improving, and all that to California and beyond?
Like I said, right now, we do have that project that is, Fisher is working on, that is widening. In some areas, it's from 6 to 8 lanes, and in the other area, it's actually from 8 to 10 lanes. That's happening now. There is some widening going on that has been delayed slightly. It was award because of some design alterations with Brightline. We just wanted to make sure we weren't putting in something and then pulling it right back out. So we're working on that. But again, on the I-15, you saw the widening that was just done north, going up towards Garnett Interchange. The widening was just completed there. There'll be actually a ribbon cutting there in the very near future, so that's winding down. And then, as I talked about before, the study that's going on, really looking at the future of what I-15 is going to look like.
And correct, you did mention most of that. Some of the question finished was, you don't control California, but what are they doing to help out the cause?
We call them a lot. And talking with them, and we do have, we're actually partnering with them on some multi-state coordination, and we're looking at alternatives of, because they have non-expansion regulations in place, so I know they're pushed back a lot from environmental, that's mostly environmental concerns, but I've looked at, are there places where you can at least get pullouts or things like that we can use for emergency considerations, but also get it a little farther down the line.
Thank you, Asha. We have some fun questions. How much does it cost for us to go to California if we live here?
That is our standard question. We get that all of the time.
Perfect.
So I know there was a rumor that it was $400 each way, and that is not the case. We will have dynamic pricing, but what we look at it now, it's averaging about $100 each way, based on what we see in Florida.
Will there be any deals with the Metro links and any of the connections?
Yes.
And then an additional question, do you expect to have a rent-a-car lot there if we just want to get there and take our own car?
I mean, those are discussions. How do we connect with the rental cars? I will say, when you purchase a ticket to go from Las Vegas to downtown LA in the Metrolink, it'll be one ticket. We're working with them on even how they time the trains. So it'll be similar to when you take the Metro in DC, where our train is built over their station, you go down the escalator and you get on that train. So it'll be one ticket. You won't have to buy 2 separate tickets. One shot, and you go all the way through. And we are talking to rental cars. We're all talking to Lyft and Uber about what that looks like. We want to make this an experience. Brightline is transportation, but we want it to be an experience. And so if you're able to book from door to door, which is our goal, through your phone, so you can book your Uber, your train ticket, and your Lyft when you get to wherever you're going, that's what we're working on now.
What was the purpose of having 2 stations in the high desert?
So what we found out, and this is something I had to learn as well, Vegas, and then you go into Hesperia, it's a commuter rail at that point, because a lot of people work live in Hesperia and Victorville, but they work in Rancho. So one of the agreements in working with the state of California is, how do we help those people move as well? Vegas, we want to bring tourists in. In California, they're trying to help people move and get to work. If you have to drive the Cajon Pass every day to go to work, your quality of life is definitely different, because you're spending 2 hours each way getting to work, and a lot of it is just sitting in traffic. So people will be able to get on the train and move that way. We have specialty times in Hesperia, targeting the morning and the evening to make sure people can get to work, to and from, and just ease the traffic there. So that was the reasoning for those stations. We also have a vehicle maintenance facility that will be in Sloan, Nevada, which is about 15 minutes from our station, but we'll also have one that's in Apple Valley, and that's where the stations will be serviced and taken care of. So the impact in both is huge, but not just there. We are actually sourcing construction materials from 28 states. So we have a Buy America project. Everything must be built in America. So the economic impact of our train is not just California and Nevada. It will be across the country.
More to you. will this be done by the Olympics in 2028 in LA?
Yeah, okay, something else.
All the hard
No,
ones, not as
all the
hard as
no,
potholes,
no.
but
That came out especially when we went out for bonding. We are not going to make the 28 Olympics. Unfortunately, we won't be able to help
yes.
California figure out how to have a carless Olympics. I'm looking forward to see how that happens. But we're slated now for the end of 2028. So we will not make the Olympics, but we're still on track for late fall.
Pun intended.
Right.
David, in regards to the challenging of the gas tax and its funding, is there any more talk of when you charge people per mile how they drive that way?
So that's a model that Tracy and her team have been looking at, not just, so I think you're referring to the road user charge. That's something
Yes.
that was debuted in Utah. I'm sure there's other, maybe Oregon had a pilot. That was one thing where you're charged per mile. Say you have an electric car or hybrid, and let me just put numbers out. If right now, gas tax is about 75 cents per gallon. If you have a car that gets 20 miles to the gallon and you drive 10,000 miles a year, you're buying about 500 gallons worth of gas. What is that, about $372, give or take? Say $350 to $400 a year that you're paying in gas tax to help support that the roads are kept in good shape. And I think from Nevada's standpoint, we have outstanding roads. If you have any question, drive to Arizona or California. You will know when you hit the line, right? When it comes to electric vehicles, right now there's no mechanism for people who own electric cars to pay for the roads. And that's something that I think, Tracy, you and the team, and along with us and RTC Washoe and a lot of other folks are looking at, is maybe doing a flat fee that could, and I'll let you speak to that, but doing a flat fee. Road user charge, that gets a little bit more interesting as to whether you're tracking someone's odometer. Sometimes there's concerns about privacy, what have you. And frankly, it's just administratively a little bit more challenging to handle. Tracy, I don't know if you want to speak to the EV.
For several years now, we have, in the last, not the previous session, not the last session, but 2023, there was a working study that was mandated by the legislator to look at alternatives, and we did that. That was completed. There were several ideas to put forward, and we have taken that. We do have a regular working group looking at the alternatives, what would it take. Also looking at, it includes like DMV, tourism, energy, as David mentioned, RTC of Southern Nevada, RTC of Northern Nevada, the AGC, the Trucking Association. So really looking at the impacts, what it would be. Overall, as he was using the numbers, and it fluctuates a little bit depending on where you are in the state, but if you're looking at, like, let's just say $300, $350 a year you pay, and actually really think about it, you're paying less per month for gas tax than you are for your telephone bill, your cell bill, and for many, it's equivalent to about 4 cups of Starbucks coffee. I mean, when you really think about it, that's what's paying for your roads. So as we're looking at like EV parity, and that was one of the things looking at, and I think the number was about $367 a year is what you would pay in state and federal tax. You know, if you're using a hybrid car, it might be, you're looking at about half that. So it's one of those things of actually really looking at education, and at this point, I mean, road user charge is something that is being looked about around the country. They actually just put together, that we've been doing it at a national level. There is a national coalition of different partners looking at road user charge at the national level. It's not, I mean, at the state, we look at it, it really has not moved forward. But again, we're just getting all the information. And also working with the DMV as we start to look at alternate collection methods, whether it's for AV or if there's a kilowatt charge on parts. How do you actually collect it? How do you administer it? They're going through a transformational upgrade, and I will always say I'm not sure that government and software go well together, but they have actually been making really good strides. But reality is, it's a different way of collecting it. The distribution of it, how you collect it, how you get it back out. But again, we've been working across the state with partnerships, And we have also been making sure that we are matching up with the people that are working on the analysis, are working with the economists like Jeremy Aguero in the different regions to ensure that as we move forward, we're all agreeing with the numbers. I don't want to get mired in the future of going, well, this doesn't agree with what we have over here, or this doesn't match the numbers we have. We're ensuring as we go along that everybody is agreeing with the methodology, they understand the methodology and where it's coming from. And I'm not sure that really answers your question, but that is what's going on.
Thank you. As expected, we had way more questions than time. I encourage the panelists to stay after if you can, and everyone that had a question that didn't make it through me, to ask them on your own time. Thank you.
Everyone, please join me in thanking our panel speakers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much to our panel today. Very interesting topic. I'm sure everybody got a ton out of that. I did. Thanks again to our breakfast sponsor, Schnitzer Properties, and everyone attending our meeting this morning. Hope to see you all again on April 10th at our next breakfast program here at the Orleans. Until then, be safe, be well, and good luck in your March Madness brackets.